Hi there, I'm Rob Whiten. Thanks for joining me on today's Dragon's Teeth. So, number one, haircut, yes, which is kind of related to number two. I'm filming outdoors today. It's been so hot the last few days, so warm, I couldn't face the prospect of setting up inside and setting all the lights up, so I'm out here on the decking. That also accounts for their haircut. This is much cooler, much lower maintenance too. Anyway, the good weather has given me the chance to really get stuck into the shed. As you may remember, I'm setting this space up to be a dedicated games room. So a lot more of the floor is visible now. Threw out at least another bin load of stuff yesterday and it's really starting to take shape. It's getting to the point where we're going to be ready to empty everything out and start decorating. I only had to make 2 sand rolls. One was when I found the old dresser in the corner. I found where the mice had been nesting. That was rather unpleasant. And then secondly, when I was hoovering, I nudged this picture and something rather large came out, looked at me and scuttled back in. So this picture, this area is now known as Shelob's Lair, and I won't be touching that for some time. In fact, I might get my wife to do it. So what I wanted to talk about today was shopping, because who doesn't like a bit of shopping? At least recreational shopping. Because of course as gamers we buy figures, we buy board games, we buy rules, we buy books, but there's a whole range of other stuff that we buy as well. We start thinking about paints, we start thinking about what we use to paint with, how we set our painting areas up, lighting, magnification, then we get into terrain, we get into storage of our figures, all sorts of things. And I found 2 of the best places, and these are both places I've been to recently, are Hobbycraft and B&M. Hobbycraft, in case you don't know it, they've got a chain of shops across the country. They're a large, I guess you call them, crafting outlet. So they sell everything to do with crafting, from yarn and crochet through to model kits. In fact, they've got quite a good range of Tamiya model kits in the Bedford one. And what I like about Hobbycraft is you can go in there with an idea of, oh, maybe I'm going to buy some glue or something, and then you start seeing all these little things. Oh, there's some board, I can use that. Oh, there's some little sticks, I can use those. So I always tend to come out having spent more than I thought. So I was in Hobbycraft a few days ago and here's what I came away with. First of all, containers. They have containers from this size, which I thought was great for maybe putting in counters or that kind of stuff, through to this sort of size, all the way up to the huge sort of plastic crates. So I got one of these size containers because these are always good for terrain and figures. And as I said, I pretty much really just went in there to buy some glue, some super glue. But while I was in there, I saw, I don't know if you've been looking at my Age of Sail, I've been thinking about, or I was thinking about what to base ships on. And I was talking about like lolly sticks. Well, I got some. These are actually going to be a little bit small for my 1/1200 ships, but nonetheless I think I'll find lots of other good uses for those, particularly in building terrain, or maybe even basing my 10mm figures, my War Master Revolution fantasy figures. I think they might fit nicely on those. Some very cheap brushes, they were like £1.50 I think, and these are really for painting terrain, doing dry brushing, that sort of thing. Double-sided tape, so if you're painting figures you might want to fix them on something, more about that later on. Double-sided tape is one way to do that. And then I saw they've got quite a few different types of these. These are just plastic palettes. I'm working in acrylic, which are water based, so these are ideal for being able to put in a few different colours, use the middle to mix, and easy to clean, easy to store. And again, that was very cheap. Some stickers, because I don't know if you do the same. One thing I find is I've got all this stuff and I put it in all these different size boxes and crates and put it in the way in the back of my room. Then when I want to find something, it's like, right, which one is it in? So I'm going to try and discipline myself to actually put a sticker on the outside of each box saying what is in it. So that was pretty much it from Hobbycraft. Oh, actually, one other thing I did get was this larger item. And again, I had no plan of buying this when I went in, but they had them on offer. So it's a lap tray. You've got a little sort of well there you can put things in. But you've also got a very nice light. That probably won't show up as I'm outside, but a very nice light. So this is great. Sometimes you don't want to set everything up and do a big painting session, but I've got some figures I need to clean up, or I've got some skeletons I need to glue together. So I can basically do that on my lap with the light, sitting in the front room while watching telly or whatever. So again, that goes under the heading of things I didn't know I need, but I got. I also popped into B&M, which is a large retail chain. I guess you call them a sort of discount store. They do a lot of food and groceries, but also DIY stuff, soft furnishings, computer bits and pieces, really quite a wide range of stuff. So I generally go in there again to get things like polyfiller, super glue, little bits and pieces like that, paper if I need some card, that type of stuff. But of course we're coming up to Halloween, and my wife tipped me off that they had some very good Halloween stuff in, and she was not wrong. Well, she really is. So I bought myself a pair of candlestick holders in the shape of, I don't know, are they chicken's feet or vulture's feet? I'm not really quite sure, but I was quite taken by those. I've got no real practical use for them. Maybe I'll put candles in and have them out while we're playing Call of Cthulhu or something. I don't know, but I just really like the look of them. They were fairly cheap and they're solid. They're made of cast iron, I think. So yeah, nice decorative items. Again, something I didn't know I needed, but had to buy it as soon as I saw it. Now, my other purchase in there was a little more practical, but only a little, and that's this white jumbo spider web. So a Halloween item. Apart from Halloween decorations, this is going to have a practical use for my Fantasy Skirmish game. One of the centerpieces of that is going to be a large cemetery that I'm going to be building, and for that we need a spider area. Of course, I've got plenty of inspiration for that from clearing out the shed. It seems odd that I've been clearing all those webs away, but here I'm going to make some webs as well. So one part of the gaming board is going to feature lots of little spiders, or lots of large spiders and their webs, and this looked like the ideal material to make the webs with. So I'll be opening that later on, and of course I'll film that when I start building that cemetery. So that was it for B&M. As I say, it's another place to pop into if you need those little bits and pieces. Of course, the other place we can shop is online. And I mentioned magnifiers and lighting and that kind of thing earlier. So one thing I did invest in just recently was this magnifier, and also it has an LED light built in around here. So that runs off of a mains lead or USB. And I'm not actually used this yet because I've not really done any proper figure painting yet, but I'm certainly going to be giving this a go. I find I need the glasses now for reading, but I think this also is going to help. I did see, like, you can buy magnifiers that fit on like glasses, almost like a pair of goggles, but I looked at a few reviews of them, and while they seem to work very well, a lot of the people said that because you have these on when you're doing this, they actually felt quite nauseous after a while. So it's great to have something that magnifies what's here, but if I'm looking up at the clock or I'm looking at something here, I don't need to have that magnified as well. So hopefully this is going to work. I'll be doing some painting later on today, so I shall be giving that a first try. Now, another aspect of good vision for our painting is lighting, of course. So the other thing I bought just recently, and I only just got these yesterday, is a pair of LED lights. So there's a pair of them. The lights themselves are quite small. Let me just open this up. There we go, as you can see, so not very big. There's two of those, and each comes with a tripod to fit it on, a little stand. But I like these because, again, they're LED, so they're low cost to power. You actually get colour gels, is gel's the right name for those, or colour films or whatever, transparencies to put across so you can change the colour. So again, these are a multifunction. One, I can have them on the table to illuminate my painting area, or two, I can have them in the background to give a bit of ambient light to any filming I'm doing as well. And they were about 25 quid, I think, on the usual online retail sites. So again, I'll be trying those out later on. Now, another aspect of painting is how do we hold our figures, how do we position them for painting? Do we want to be holding it in one hand and painting it with the other, especially if it's a small fiddly part? Not necessarily. So this also caught my eye online. So this is a base with lots of little holes in, and you get these sort of wires. They're quite stiff actually, but at the end they've got rubber clips, so they'll hold a model but they're not going to mark it, especially if it's a delicate part. And then I just place that in there, and that can be holding my figure, my piece. You could be holding a whole sprue, I guess, as I paint it. And of course I can put that up on something higher. I've got my magnifying light there, and that's going to make life a lot easier. Then I've got two hands to work with, and everything is nicely held in place and nicely, hopefully, in focus. So again, that was fairly cheap. That was online, and I think particularly this is going to be useful for if I'm painting my masts for my ships, for example. I don't really want to lay them flat on the floor, but here I can have the mast held out, I can rotate it, and I should be able to paint those much easier. Now, something else I was looking at for painting, or for holding figures while painting, is to stick them temporarily using that double-sided tape or blue tack to the top of something. So that is used as a handle, and of course you can buy made for the job paint handles that you put your figure in. Again, they seem quite expensive. I'm always looking for a cheaper option, but also something that will maybe serve more than one purpose, multifunctional. So I ordered a set of spice jars, and there's 8 spice jars for about a tenner. They come with lots of little bits and pieces in here as well. There's a plastic funnel, and there's little lids with the sort of holes in, so you can use to shake your stuff out. And what I thought is, where the multifunction comes in is they can hold the figure. I can put the figure on top here. Again, I can be holding that in my hand, or I can have it on my little turntable. The second thing is, the jars on their own are quite light. They might easily get knocked over. They do come with this very nice sort of base or container, so once the figure is done and drying, I guess I can put the jar back on there. That's not going to fall over. But another thing that struck me is I've got tons of scatter stuff, so fine sand, little leaves, green sort of sawdusty stuff, you know, all that sort of cover and scatter that you use for bases. And a lot of the times they come in a bag, which is not the most practical thing. So I thought I can decant all my different types of scatter into these jars. That gives them some weight, and also when I put those little plastic lids on, when I come to use them, then it's just like using a salt and pepper pot. So I like that. Again, fairly cheap, multifunctional, and should do the job very well. Then there's just a few other bits and pieces, again online, relating to painting. Something that we certainly never had back in the day were these little devices that will shake your paint for you. I was having a look around at those because, like everyone, I've got I don't know how many pots of paint, and of course some of them have been in there for years, and they do settle and separate. So you can give everything a good shake before you start. You can put it on one of these little machines for a few seconds, but the decent ones are really coming in about 100 quid, which again I thought was quite a lot to pay just to shake paint. So I did a bit of research, and the thing that people are saying is you put steel ball bearings in your paint, and then you only have to shake them a few times. Now again, my research told me that you have to be very careful of the sort of ball bearings you buy, There's a lot of them that are advertised as stainless steel and rust resistant, but they're not. And there's pictures of people who've used these, put them in their paint, then a few weeks later they've got a load of rust in the paint as well. So the ones that everyone recommended were from the Army Painter, who do a whole range of their own paints as well. They're called mixing balls, and these were a tenner for a pack of 100. So, you know, again, pretty good value. That's certainly going to cover all of my paint stock at the moment. Now, I did do some old-fashioned face-to-face shopping last Sunday. You may remember I was up at Hereward War Game Show in Peterborough. Robin from Hobby Hive was there, local gamer, local retailer. I did buy some 10mm buildings off him, but he also had some of these up for sale as well, which are the foam boards for putting your figures in. So these are for 28mm figs, and I picked up a few of these off of him. I don't have a box, but then this is where my containers come in, because I can easily fit these in my containers, and it's just a very easy and safe way to transport figures around. And the reason I got these, I've got some bigger boxes that I bought a little while back that contain like 200 or 300 figures or something, so that's great, but sometimes, particularly for smaller games, I only need 10 or 20 figures, so that's where this sort of thing is ideal. So those were from Hobby Hive, and of course I'll put their link up in the notes below. So I think that's largely it for the shopping, or at least as much as I'm going to admit to on film. I did get one other thing as well. We're doing a lot of printing lately. We're getting a lot of stuff printed for our upcoming Innsmouth Literary Festival at the end of September. So we're getting posters done and programmes and all sorts of things. So while I was on the print site, I thought I'd take the opportunity to get some Dragon's Teeth business cards printed up. Because one thing I found last Sunday when I was filming at Hereward was people would ask, what are you filming this for? And now I can say, oh, it's for my gaming channel. Here's my card, and hopefully that will encourage them to go and look at the channel. So there we go. That's my shopping for this week. I'm going to try and put a stop to it for the moment and actually get on with some painting. I've got a ton of stuff to paint at the moment, so that's going to be my focus over the next couple of weeks. Hope you can join me for that. As always, if you haven't already, please do like, share and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.